1.
Hello, everyone. This is our project Game of Life. I'm Kelly, the team leader, and I'm here with Carissa and Ben. So, our project is the Game of Life. The Game of Life, a web app that simulates Conway's Game of Life using an interactive grid. Users can start, stop, reset the simulation, load present patterns, and track generations. This also includes user login, game stats tracking, and an admin dashboard that we built with PHP and MySQL. And this is a web development project. So, the Conway's Game of Life is a cellular automation device by mathematician John Conway. It simulates how populations evolve based on simple rules and showcases complex behavior and emergent patterns. So, the problem was how can we build this interactive educational web app that allows users to explore Conway's Game of Life while integrating real life simulation, user controls, and account tracking. So to develop a responsive full stack web application that simulates um, Conway's Game of Life interactively, and this will allow users to control the simulation with the start, stop, and reset step buttons. And then this also supports pattern loading, still life, oscillators, and then we also added a bonus. It also tracks user sessions and game stats via authentication, and it also combines creative front-end and robust back-end functionality. So the requirements for our project was to create a dynamic grid with mouse-based cell toggling, and then accurate implementation of Conway's 4 rules that you will see later on the actual website, and then control panels with start stop 1 plus generation, and then plus 23 generations, a reset button, and a pattern selector that will have a drop down, and then a login registration system with sessions, and then admin dashboard for user stats and controls. So the solution was basically to use the front end using HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and then the back end we used PHP with MySQL. And for the database tables, the variables we used were users, game sessions, and admin users. And our approach was to use JavaScript for the grid logic, game rules, and pattern animations. And then the PHP handled form authentication, user sessions, and role-based redirects. And MySQL stored user data, game history, and patterns. So for the key design features, we wanted to go for like a futuristic theme. So we use like glowing buttons in like a dark mode rather than like a light mode. And then the responsive layout, we used Flexbox and media queries, and dynamic grid with pink alive cells and dark dead cells, and then user dashboard displaying generation count and simulation controls. So for this code snippet, this was the JavaScript file, and it adds, we have other patterns, but this one specifically just highlights the toad and glider because these were our bonus ones that we wanted to add. And the positions represent the rows and columns of the alive cells, and then it also loads a glider which moves diagonally, and it activates patterns by coloring specific cells as alive. And then the function called alive pattern, it loops through coordinates, translates them into DOM elements on the grid, and sets cell to alive visually so you can like see it, and then tracks user session and using a send beacon when they leave the page, and then initializes the grid when the page loads.
And for this one, we use the user table creation that store all the registered users, including username, email, and password. We also create the admin table that links certain users to admin roles. This allows us to retrieve access to the admin dashboard. The game session tracking that record each play session, including who play, when, and how many generations were run. Also, this back-end logic lets us track user activity, control access, and make the game feel personalized. Without this table, we have no login, no dashboard, and no way to record play history.
So our Game of Life project, it combines interactivity, creativity, and backend logic in one cohesive platform. We explore full stack development, user-centered design, and mathematical modeling while gaining hands-on experience in Scrum, collaboration, and UI UX planning. And now Carissa will take it over for the demo.
So this is our homepage. So as you can see, it's kind of designed to be futuristic with the neon elements. And there's a button here to log in. There's a little intro here. Welcome to the Game of Life simulator with the rules here, with the 4 rules. And you can also play as a guest if you'd like. But I'll show you the login. First, you can register. Let's just say like test and a test email address, and then test user 1 for a username, and we can do test user 123 for the password. And then once you click that, it should bring you to the login, and then you can log in. So now you're going to be in the user dashboard. It's going to say welcome test user 1, which is linked to the back end, so it can pull the username. And here you can log out, or you can start the game. It'll display the amount of total games you've played and the total time spent in a game here, which are pulled from the backend as well. So we can start the game. There's a little navigation bar here if you want to go back to home or the dashboard or log out. So it'll say playing as your username. So we can just do like a test thing. You can put some active cells here, and you can click it again to deactivate it, and then we can start. It'll go through each generation for as long as you'd like. And as we can see, this one became a block, this one became a beacon, I think, and this one's a blinker. And you can go to the next generation, which it'll just go to the next generation, or you can plus 23 generations, but it'll just look the same because these are like infinitely formed this way. Or you can reset, so you can stop it, we can reset, we can see the patterns here. We can do block, which is just this. We can do blinker, which is going to be like this. We can do beacon, which is like this. And toad, which is like this. And we can do glider, which is like this. So now if you go back to dashboard, it'll say the amount of games we played, which is 1 just now, and it'll say the total time spent, so like a minute. So if we go back again and we just do something again, start. As you can see, it skipped. So these just ended up as blinkers, I believe. If we go back to dashboard, it'll say total games played 2. And it didn't go past 2 minutes, so that's why it's still a minute. And we can go back to home. We can log out, which this is the logout screen. Now we can try logging in as an admin, since it's a different look. So this is the admin dashboard. It'll say the total users here, the games played, which is 24, the average generations, and average playtime. And here's the top players: admin, Carissa, test user, and this number 4. And then here you can manage users. So here it lists all the users. We can make someone admin, we can delete them. So we can just test it on Ben. We just made him admin. It says admin privileges granted, or we could remove it just like that. And if you click edit, we could edit their user. We can give them admin privileges. We can see their statistics here as well. And game history, which it'll say right over here with the duration and the generations. And we also have filters. So let's go back to game sessions, and then if we put like admin apply filters, it'll show just like the admins, the statistics under admin. And we can also play a game as admin if you'd like. And out, if you play as a guest, it won't save your progress. And yeah, so that is all of our demo. Thank you for watching.